Okay, we're going to go over removing the dial, lacing the socket up, and tying the knot into the spool. You want to start by releasing tension and pulling the slack out of the dial. To release, insert your T6 tool into the pilot hole on the side. Grab the base of the dial, and while pushing inward, give the dial a twist clockwise. You can then twist it, pull it out to put the dial back in. You want to pull on the strings, straighten everything out, insert the dial, and then turn it counterclockwise to lock it. To lace the socket back up, you have your wire feeder and your T6 tool. Sometimes the opening on the wire feeder is closed and you can't insert the spectra. It's helpful to use the little tool to open it up, slide it onto the shoulder of the tool, and create a wider eye in the feeder. At that point you can insert your spectra, leaving a small tail, and then begin lacing at the dial. And when you pull through, it's nice to put something, your fingertip or something like that, on the edge of the Teflon tubing so that you don't pull the tubing out of the socket. And it should slide through easily. You want to leave a little bit at the end here. Careful not to pull it all through. And identify which panels are going in which spot. Make sure you have the right panel. until you've made your way back to where you started. In most sockets it should be able to flow pretty easily, so I'm going to straighten out and put about the same length on each cable. And we come to lacing the string into the spool. You want to start with this green hole on the side of the spool. It's going to exit out the base, also marked green. It may be helpful if you can't get the thing through to put a small bend on the end of your feeder. You can use a pair of pliers or something similar to do that. Pull it through the base. And at this point you may need to open up the eye in the feeder again. And repeat the same for the other side. Okay, now you can lay your dial down flat upside down. Figure out, I typically leave about 3 to 4 inches of slack from the base to the knot. And you tie the knot by doing a loop, putting the spectra through the loop, and then through the loop one more time. So you'll end up with, it's a double overhand knot. Do the same for the other side. And it's important to tighten these first. Make sure the knots are good and tight. Otherwise, you'll have a very difficult time fitting them into the recess on the bottom of the dial. So at that point I can pull these back. You'll pull on them slightly and they'll sink into the recess. At that point you'll have to push them from the top with some kind of tool, a nail set I'm using here, so that they drop all the way in to that recess. You'll have the slack hanging out the ends. There's several ways to cut it. If you don't have a razor blade, or if you don't have something similar or sharp, you can heat up a paper clip and pull it tight and cut it that way. I'm going to use the razor blade here. Now you'll have the little tails hanging off the end here. I like to get rid of them with the lighter. And smash it down flush. At this point, I'll give it one last little push, make sure everything's in the recess. Take a razor blade or something similar and cut off the small pieces of melted spectra that may be left behind. If you don't have the tool, again, you can heat it and push the rest into the recess. So there's nothing left. It's nice and flush. It's not going to catch on the bottom of the spool there. So then you can pull out on one of the panels to get all the slack out of your base there. Line everything up, line up the tabs, and inspect to see that you're not pinching the cable. So I'll just drop that right back in there. And once you click it down all the way, give it a small click counterclockwise, and you'll know it's in place because you can't pull it out. It's locked in. At that point, keeping tension on the system, go ahead and begin winding it up. So there you have it.